One, check two. Check one, check two. I hope we are recording. All right. Screen is sharing. It says recording is going. Hopefully you can hear me. Hello. Good evening. Good morning. Good night. Good afternoon. Wherever you are watching in the world, thanks for joining and following along with this course. To introduce myself, I'm Alexander Booth. I am the head facilitator and lead program instructor for the Data Science Micro Bootcamp through IBM. This is the April 2026 cohort. And this is going to be your week one review and week two preview video. So I'll quickly recap with where we came from, where we're going, and also I think I need to do a little tour of the online campus. All right, so quick recap of week one. So yeah, this is posted a week ago. This was the introduction to week one. But we'll just skip on down to our recap. So our first live session was on Monday earlier this week. So thanks everybody who joined live. We're going to be having these weekly lectures live on Mondays. So please join us if you can. Um, let's see. Everything that we do during the week is going to be backed up to my GitHub repository. There is the link. So in week one thing to note is that after I made these posts, I added in the notebooks that we actually reviewed live during the lecture earlier this week. So you'll see everything with the notebooks for the week that you need to run, as well as the live session notebooks, and then some notes of mine down here as well. All right. So, for week one, we talked about how we got oriented on the campus and then how we actually introduced thinking like a data scientist. What is data science? How do we approach business problems and drive them to decision making and actionable work on the far end? Um, so yeah, I think let's just start with each week. So each week, it's the weeks run Wednesday to Tuesday. So we are currently in week two right now, which just started yesterday, and it'll go through Tuesday of next week. Within each week, you'll have multiple asynchronous learning assignments, including media sets. These will be readings, videos, what have you. The discussion forums where I'm in now, that's where I hang out. I check the forums once or multiple times a day, every day through the boot camp. You'll also have coding notebooks and activities that will be run in the IBM cloud. And finally, importantly, at the end of each week, there will be a quiz that is graded and part of your overall grade, as well as our live session lecture and this I guess supplemental weekly recap and preview video as well. Quizzes and the capstone in weeks 9 and 10 are what determine your grade. Everything else is asynchronous and optional and supports your learning. Let's see. We'll kind of walk through this when I showed the platform, but the IBM Cloud notebooks that we're going to be running in, they can have issues sometimes. Their VM compute can get stuck, the notebook might not load, what have you. If you ever run into issues running your Jupyter notebooks in the IBM Cloud, we can also run them in Google's Cloud or Google Colab for Jupyter notebooks. Simply open this link. And then if you're in IBM's cloud, you can download the notebook. And when you're in Google Colab, you can just upload the notebook and then just run it as normal. Or you can always grab one of the notebooks from my GitHub and run that instead. So let me just grab kind of this notebook, for example, copy and paste. Let me get rid of the file name. Oh, I had to click out of it. There it is. Cool. So yeah, this will be this guy right here. And woo, we can now kind of just run the notebook in Google Colab as well. Sweet. Before we get into the campus walkthrough, let me also just introduce what week one was all about. Week one was introducing the data science methodology. We introduced two frameworks, the first being the original CRISP DM framework. This is a pretty old school, but pretty well utilized framework for data science, taking your business understanding, understanding what data is there and how it relates back to your business understanding. Once you have data, then you clean, prepare it, organize it, drop duplicates, do your time, your feature engineering, etc. Then we build our models, evaluate our models, and then deploy into production one time or write one time a one-time report or dashboard or something. Mostly these are individually siloed and non-dependent on other experiments, data science projects. Big idea. You start with the business problem and then start with the code after that. You don't just code or create a dashboard for the sake of it. You start by trying to solve a problem with the data. A more modern approach is with John Rollins's framework, who actually works at IBM. He extended the He's under the crisp DM model to include a few other stages. The most specific ones here are going to be the multiple stages in getting data these days. What are the requirements of the data? Where am I going to get the data from? And then what is the data that I've actually received? And then the last bit too that's different is at the end, once we deploy, we don't just stop and go on with our day. We always iterate on the deployed data product, gather feedback from our users, gather feedback from those actually looking at the reports, or maybe it's just monitoring the model for model drift or uh, a change in the prediction environment. Rollins's framework is more applicable in the kind of modern era of data AI and specifically big data. When you have so much data floating around and so many questions and so much uncertainty, you need to have that core business understanding and then that core understanding of how the data that you could get or are going to get from somewhere relates back to that business understanding. Let's see. We also talked about what it means to be a data-driven organization or to compete with analytics. And we brought up the data and AI maturity curve. And you'll see kind of down here, I have this, I attached it as a picture down here at the bottom. Many organizations are somewhere on this curve, and a majority of them are going to be no later than the data exploration page. So again, like, are you cleaning your data at all? Are you building reports that are actually used? Are you able to start writing SQL or some type of coding query? Are you able to do exploratory data analysis? And then we move into actually gaining an advantage with a data mature platform. Predictive modeling, right? We're understanding the future and forecasting. Prescriptive analytics, how are we going to make a decision or respond based on what we've observed? And then finally, automating those decisions so they happen faster and quicker than you could possibly imagine. Let's see. Feedback monitoring and iteration. This is again where modern data science differs from older, kind of more static analytic approaches. We always need to be monitoring our data product, whether it's on the modeling side, is our model still accurate? It's a representative of the world around us. A model that's predicting house prices a decade ago is not going to work for predicting house prices today. AI observability for large language models and AI agents. Are we able to observe what they're doing? Can we keep track of if what they're doing is actually working or not? And how can we start detecting when maybe their system prompts need tuning or there's something more material and why its accuracy in terms of the agentic decision making is so low? Big idea here. We're never really done. Models degrade over time, data changes over time, business needs evolve over time. We must continuously monitor, evaluate, and improve our analytical models. Sweet. Big ideas. Data science is a structured problem-solving process. Always start with a business problem before moving on to the data. The methodology and the framework that you use matters more than the individual tool or SaaS product, in particular. Data products and our data things that we make beyond just a machine learning model. It also goes beyond just a BI Tableau report. It's kind of the synthesis of all of these different prediction and pattern recognition models. Automation and iteration is critical, especially as data is only getting bigger and faster and coming in. We need code to be able to do a lot of the data pipelining work as much as we can. Feedback loops should be built as part of your system. Always be consulting with your stakeholders, especially your non-technical stakeholders. Make sure they know how they can ask, utilize, and receive business value from the deliverables that we're providing. I'm going to go to the week two preview in just a sec, but week two is going to be all about introduction to Python. So, because you could come into this boot camp with zero or none or just a small amount of coding experience, we actually start with the very basics. This is going to be a lot more notebooks. So, I think it's over 20 Jupyter notebooks total in module two, but you don't have to do all of them and you don't have to complete all of them. The first like 10 or 12 of those notebooks are all going to be about introduction to coding and introduction to Python. And if you already have some familiarity with with the programming language, I would just jump to the second half of the week. The second half of the week, we're going to be focusing on utilizing Python for data collection. This includes going out to APIs, FTP servers, databases, and even scraping websites and gathering numeric and categorical data from those sources too. So, yeah, I actually really recommend, even if you feel like you have a good, strong understanding of Python, to still start in media set 210 down to 213. Those are going to be the most important ones as we start tying Python back to data engineering. All right, before I dive into my week two preview, I want to take just a sec to kind of show you around the platform. So this is going to be our online campus for the scope of the boot camp. I have a slightly different view right now because I am in kind of my instructor mode. But on your home page, you should have a bar up here at the top, including a tab for announcements and resources. This announcements and resources tab, it includes links to our live session where our Zoom classroom is going to be. And you should be able to see the times for all of the lectures in your own time zone. And then announcements, you'll see kind of our announcements page where hopefully you see the kind of weekly recaps and things that I post there too. Cool. So we've gone over the homepage, we've gone over how to get to the live session. As you're navigating the course on the left-hand side, you'll see that you'll have each week is split into media sets. So for week one, we had kind of this media set here, then a discussion forum, media set, discussion forum. Week two is similar. We're going to have multiple media sets that are going to include Jupyter notebooks and then our first discussion. So just to show what one looks like, let's click into the first media set for week two. And here we're going to be learning about basic Python data types, what is a data type, and how to do type conversions. So you'll see that we'll have videos and we'll have readings and more videos. And we have kind of the start of our IBM Cloud Jupyter Notebook code writing activities. So I click into this lab. This is going to launch the IBM Cloud where we're going to be running these Jupyter Notebooks. And so you'll see that we connected to this Jupyter Notebook, and this little lightning bolt means we're connecting to a kernel. So we'll just let that click over, which it looks like it has. And we can now start running the cells in this notebook. So hello, Python. Cool. Wow. Look at us writing code. Always I recommend kind of reading through and running these notebooks on your own. At the bottom, you'll have a chance to kind of practice and write some code without too much help. But we do hold your hand, as you can see there. Um, cool, cool, cool. Like I said, if the notebooks or the environment doesn't work for any reason, that is when you would use Google Colab as a backup. If you right click on the notebook, you can also download it to your local machine as well. All right, so we reviewed media sets and activities. I think let's go to the forums now. So in the forums, you're going to see a couple general discussion and a couple learner discussions. So here we have kind of our Module 2 lounge and my Module 2 live session Q&A. The general discussions are made by me, run by me. And we'll just go over them now. So the module two lounge, the lounge is going to be where you can just post whatever you want, updates about, I'll be posting updates about the week. But you can ask whatever questions you want. I also post in random like news articles if it's about data science and just memes if they're about data science and yeah, things like that. So keep it casual, keep it fun, and I'll be putting my weekly updates in the lounge. So you'll see if I click into the lounge for this week, you'll see I have my week two preview that I put in a couple of days ago, and so did Karen. Cool. The live session Q&A, if you have any questions you want me to tackle or answer live during the live session, put it in there. I usually keep this as like the technical like questions. And like in the lounge, maybe you can ask like general questions about the week and stuff. But in the live session, maybe this is like, hey, I'm having trouble running this notebook, or why are we writing this code like this? I don't understand how this transformation works. So keep it technical, keep it relevant to the week. I'll try and cover most of it during the live session, and if not, I will answer them asynchronously there. So these two will be standard across every week. Then each week you'll have pretty much between 1 to 5 learner discussions. So you got 2 learner discussions in week two. This is a way to break up the media sets so that you can kind of keep track and tie everything back to how the rest of the class is doing, what the other students are thinking, and how we want to be thinking about big ideas for the week. Cool. I think that's it. We've gone over the forums, the notebooks, the media sets, and oh, that was kind of a bug where week one opened a week early. I think week one opened during orientation week. So even though week two opened last week, we are in week two now. And I think you already have access to week three, but we don't start week three until next Wednesday. So everything in the actual homepage and the dates is going to be like a week off. But I assure you that we are in week two right now. All right, let's wrap this up with my week two preview. Um, Week two, like I said, this is where we're going to be transitioning from starting to think like a data scientist into actually doing data science by writing code and creating automations. We'll start with Python fundamentals. What is a data type? What is a variable? And then work up to using real world libraries such as pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, requests, Beautiful Soup, etc. This is obviously a major step in the course for the next 9 weeks. You're going to be writing in Python every week and SQL in some weeks. So it's going to be the tool that we're going to be mainly using across this bootcamp, but also in real world workflows. So with that being in mind, you only have 9 weeks to learn a new language. Feel don't feel bad if you're not memorizing anything. Don't memorize is my recommendation. Learn syntax, or don't learn syntax, learn big ideas of what you want to actually do. So if you know you want to do think about logic, not syntax. If you know you want to do a for loop, if you know you want to do an if statement, you can always find and grab syntax now for that. Or that's where AI is really useful now too in writing that syntax for you. Don't feel like you need to understand every line of code. It's a lot. Thinking logically is very difficult. And again, if you have questions, just drop them in the forums. And finally, don't feel like you need to do every notebook or every activity or everything, especially if it's a concept you already feel like you understand, right? The only things that are graded are the quizzes. So I actually didn't show that earlier, but yeah, there's your 110 assessment quiz. Cool. Week two is all about exposure and building familiarity. You don't know what you don't know, so hopefully this lets you know what you don't know. Understand what tools exist and how they fit together. More fluency in Python comes with repetition. That's why we're going to be doing this every week for the next 9 weeks. If you have issues with the activities of the notebooks, I've backed everything up in my GitHub. Feel free to um, check them out. I also said this during the live session, but even though I have done a few other boot camps before this, we changed the notebooks, and there's a couple new in this week as well. So make sure to use just what I've backed up as your source of truth here. You'll see that if we scroll down, we'll see that I've run this code already and made sure that everything works. So that's how I make sure exactly what you're going through and cut off any potential problems by just running and writing the code myself as well during the week. All right. By the end of the module, you should feel comfortable with basic computer science in Python and data science in Python, or data engineering, I guess. So you're going to be writing and reading Python code. You'll understand data structures like lists, dictionaries, and sets. You'll understand if statements, control flow, with if statements, for loops, and conditionals and functions. And then we get into the data sciencey bits. We're going to be loading tabular data with pandas. We are going to be transforming numbers with NumPy. And then the most important one, start understanding how APIs and web scraping work from a data engineering perspective. What is an ETL pipeline? What is a data pipeline? How do we pull everything together? So the last, I think it'll be 211 is like a small little practice project that does all of this work. Makes you write basic Python code, load data up, connect to APIs. It's a pretty good little activity to end the week on. Let's see. Big idea here. Python's going to be our bridge between data and analysis. Once you're comfortable in it, everything else becomes a lot more approachable. Let's see. Karen mentioned some really good free resources for learning Python. And then I also wanted to shout out Kaggle. If you go to kaggle.com/learn, they have some micro courses, including Intro to Programming, Python, Pandas. That'll be really relevant as we move forward in the course. And if you finish any of these certificates in Kaggle Learn, let me know in the forums and we'll log that, maybe give you some extra credit during the capstone project. Cool. I think that's it on my end. Remember, all of our lecture videos are backed up on YouTube. You can see some other stuff that I've posted in there too. And the code is all backed up in GitHub. So hopefully you have plenty of resources to point you in the right direction through all these notebooks. Take your time with this week, being such a long week. Just allocate your time correctly. And if it's any reassurance, week 3 is actually a really short week. So that is the trade-off for week 2 being so heavy. All right. I will see you all online in the forums and hopefully during our next live session on Monday. Thank you all for watching. I will see you later. Have a great night.